This is David Wheaton. The following is a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. You can hear the full program at thechristianworldview.org. So the question is, do Christians and Muslims, are they worshiping the same God that we know of as Yahweh? Is Allah similar or just a variation of it? What are your thoughts on that?
I say this with all grace and humility, no. Christians and Muslims do not worship the same God, and it's amazing to me how often that question comes up. First of all, we don't worship the same God because Allah is not truly God. Allah is merely an idol of man's imagination, one man's imagination in this case, that is Muhammad. Now, I say that in light of Psalm 96, verses 4 and 5, where David says this. He says, "For great is the Lord and greatly to be praised. He, the Lord, is to be feared above all gods. For all the gods of the peoples," and Allah is a God of the peoples. It is an invented deity. "For all the gods of the peoples are idols, but the Lord made the heavens." Again, that's not Psalm 96, verses 4 and 5. So no, that's reason number one, because Allah is an idol of man's imagination. Secondly, when you look at the question, David, just on logic alone, if the Christian God is Yahweh and the Islamic God is Allah, who is not a God to begin with, then it stands to reason that Christians and Muslims do not worship the same God. How can it even be argued that Christian and Muslims worship the same God when one of those gods is not a God to begin with? So just on logic alone, you have to eliminate Allah. Conversely, along that same line of thought, how can it be said that Christians and Muslims worship the same God when Islam was founded more than 600 years after the death of Jesus Christ, who is the true God of the Christian? Some other questions I might have on that is, where is the incarnation in Islam? Where is that? Where is the doctrine of substitutionary atonement in Islam? Where is the righteous life of Muhammad, wherein he fulfilled all the law perfectly and without sin? Where is that? Where is the doctrine of justification by faith alone in Islam, wherein the perfect righteousness of Muhammad is applied to sinners? Where is that?
How about the Trinity?
Is the Trinity? And we mentioned that in the episode as well. We talk about, I think I quote Dr. R.C. Sproul in the episode, who had a brilliant quote on that regard. Fundamentally, the God of the Bible is triune. The God of Islam is not triune. Where's the resurrection of Muhammad from the dead? Where is the ascension of Muhammad into heaven as testified to by hundreds of eyewitnesses? I mean, we could go on and on and on. So if people would just read their Bible, you don't need to read the Quran. You can offer an apologetic against the idea that Christians and Muslims worship the same God simply by reading your Bible. You don't need the Quran to argue against that. But these are just some very simple logical deductions that Christians can easily come to refute the idea that Christians and Muslims worship the same God. Because remember, God promised to Abraham that the promise will be carried through his son Isaac, not Ishmael. So that should end the discussion right there.
This has been a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. To hear the full program and connect with this nonprofit radio ministry, go to thechristianworldview.org. I'm David Wheaton.